Hey, Jorik from Hudson Valley Bee Supply with you today to show you how to assemble a wooden frame for a wax foundation. Different than for a plastic foundation. So if you were using a plastic foundation, check out that video. So wax foundation requires its own particular type of frame. Okay, this is a well, let's just do the components. You got your top bar. For a wax foundation, it's going to have this little sort of removed, we call it a wedge bar, and you're just going to break it right out of there like that. You'll see why that's important in a second. And then you got your bottom bar. For a wax foundation, it's going to have a slot and not a groove in it. And then your end bars, you'll notice, have a wide saddle and a narrow saddle, and they correspond to your bottom bar and your top bar. Right? So, like so. And they don't work backwards, like so. It's really hard to mess up. So you got your frame like this, right? That's what we're shooting for. If you get your frame kit from us, you're going to find it comes with two size nails. You're going to have an 1¼ inch wire nail and a little 5/8 tiny one like that. The 1¼ inch ones are to nail your frame together. So it's going to be 2 in the top bar and 1 nail in the bottom bar. But what's even more important than the nails is the wood glue. Do yourself a favor and use a good quality wood glue. There is nothing worse than ripping off the top frame of a perfectly beautiful frame of brood, and it's just a drag. So the glue is really doing the heavy lifting, and the nails are just holding it together while the glue dries. So we get our frame together, it's glued, it's dried. We have broken out our wedge bar, and the wedge bar creates like this little shoulder in here, right? And that's important because you'll notice on a wax foundation, it's got what we call a hook end. So it's got a little 90-degree hook in these vertical wires. Now, it takes a little finesse, but pull it tight and just slide it right into that slot like that. And then, whoops, I had it. I did say it takes a little finesse. Okay, so you work it into the groove. And then what happens is the hooks sit right in that little shoulder. You take your wedge bar that you broke out and put it right back on top of them. And the whole thing is suspended from those hooks. The reason the slot is here is if you had a wire that was a little too long, it would make a foundation bow. So that's why the system works, because it's hanging from that hook. Now, this is where the short nails come in. These little 5/8 ones, no need to glue this. But if you put in like 4 of these and just hold that wedge bar down with these little 5/8 inch brads, and that'll hold it. Now you've got a frame and a foundation, but you'll notice it's got a little bow to it, right? So that's one of the drawbacks of wax foundation. And a bowed foundation means a bowed comb. And it can be a little frustrating. So what most people do is use what's called a support pin. And it's just this little pin, and it's like a split rivet. And you'll notice there's holes in your end bars. And it just goes in the hole. You move your foundation over so that that split goes right down the middle, and bam, straightens it right out. So, and there's 4 on each side. So what you end up with is a frame like this, and it keeps it fairly straight. There is also another system where you can run wire through your frame. That is for an entirely different video on its own, so check out our video about that. But most folks will just do support pins for their wax foundation. If you don't, it's going to have a little bow, and it tends to curl at the edges a little bit, and you are going to appreciate straight combs in your beekeeping. So, hopefully you found this informative and useful, and that's all there is to it. Wooden frames, wax foundations.